In this video I want to share with you how I managed to make 50 divines in 1 hour. It's not clickbait. I did get a bit lucky, but even if I wouldn't get lucky, I would still probably make at least 30 divines in 1 hour. With that being said, I want to make you aware that this strategy may not work for everybody, and the reason why, it's because um, it's a strategy that involves being online for a long period of time. You don't have to play the game, you just simply have to be able to respond to trades. That's it. So if you can only be at your computer 1 or 2 hours per day, you're better off grinding, doing other things, because this strategy will not work. Although it took me only 1 hour to craft the items, maybe 2 to 5 minutes to sell them. What you don't see is just simply how many hours I was online waiting for the trades to happen. Obviously, I was not playing the game; I was doing something else on my computer, but still, I was online waiting for the trades. And if you're not online, so that people can search your item and give you a message, you're just simply not going to make the trade. Hold on a second. So let's show you some numbers, and then we will discuss the strategy. Here are the items that I sold. In total, I crafted 14 items, 13 have sold, and there is one item that did not sell, and it's this amulet right here. But I'm very confident it will sell for at least 6 divines. If it does not sell for at least 6 divines, maybe 5, but 5 would be the minimum. I'm just going to keep it for maybe 1 or 2 days more here, and hopefully it will sell. This would be the third day since I crafted the items, so it didn't take too long to sell the items, but the investment was huge. It was a 76 divines investment. I crafted all these 14 items in 70 minutes, and I'm going to show you what items I crafted. It's mainly amulets, and also I crafted a quiver. So it's going to be uh, +2 amulets, usually +2 fire, mainly because the seeds are cheaper and there are a lot of righteous fire players and in this league. Sometimes um, I used prefixes cannot be changed, and then I would use a Veiled Chaos Orb, but sometimes I would just sell the amulet as it was. I'm not sure actually if it's worth using prefixes cannot be changed and the Veiled Chaos Orb, but with that being said, let's just show you the trades, do the calculations, and then um, show you how I crafted these items, and show you how to search for the items on the trade site. So this is example number 1, sold for 18.4 divines. This right here sold for 8 divines, 6.5 divines. This right here sold for 12 divines. This was an example where I just simply got lucky because this amulet had nothing except the +2 and an empty prefix and bad suffixes, so I used prefixes cannot be changed with Chaos Orb, and I happened to get lucky and sold this amulet for 12 divines. It gave me the 35 and 48 lightning resistance, and it was super nice. This one sold for 8 divs, 6, 8, 15. This once again, I got lucky and I slammed damage over time multiplier. But if I didn't get lucky here, I would probably still sell this amulet for about 7 divines. This sold for 5.5. As you can see, this right here, I chose not to use a prefix that cannot be changed because it already had a full prefix and it was a bad one. So I just sold it as it was. This sold for 6 divines. This was a quiver that sold for 20 divines, and I'll show you how to craft quivers like this. This amulet sold for 11.5 divines. Once again, I just got lucky with the uh, prefixes cannot be changed Veiled Chaos Orb. This one right here sold for 7 divines. And the one that is here needs to be sold. It for sure it will sell for 5.5 divines, guaranteed. But if it doesn't sell for 7 divines, I'll just list it for 5.5. Now let's do the math. Let's see how much we made in sales. 11.4 point plus 8 plus 6.5 plus 12 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8 15 5.5 6 20 11.5 7. And let's assume that the amulet that I have in my stash will sell for the bare minimum, which would be 5.5 divines. So in total in sales, let's just say I would make at least 130 divines. Now we subtract 76. So this leaves me with 54.4 divines, but I crafted this in 70 minutes divided by 70 times 60. So it's roughly around 47 divines, give or take, per in 1 hour. This is how much I made. Now let's go over how to craft these items and how to search for them. Let's start with the amulet, it's the most complicated one. Let's go to the emulator. Basically, the amulet is a guaranteed +2 as long as you have 3 suffixes and you have fire, cold, or lightning damage to attacks. So you start with a base that has this mod. You just buy the base, and that base can have 3 suffixes like this. And if you can craft, let's just say, fire damage to attacks, when you go and use harvest, add remove fire, which is this. Let's show you, because maybe some of you are new and don't understand what I mean by harvest add remove.
When I'm ready and not before.
So this modifier right here, add a new fire. As you can see, it costs 15 purple and 1 secret. So when you go and use add remove fire, it will guarantee you a +1, but it does not guarantee that it will take away the +1 to level of all skill gems. But since we have 5 modifiers, uh, the chance of removing the +1 is going to be 1 in 5. So it's going to be 20% chance. That means it has 80% success rate. You go like this, and as you can see, it removed um, the fire damage to attacks, and it gave me the +1 fire, and it's guaranteed to give the +1 fire. Another way, let's just say that you have another prefix. Let's just say that you have maximum life, for example, but you have an empty suffix. If you have an empty suffix, in this case, and your item looks like this, it has already a bad prefix. In this case, you cannot just go and craft fire damage to attacks like this, because you have 3 prefixes that are full and it will not give you the +1 fire. You have to have at least 1 empty prefix for this method to give you a prefix. If right now, and if I would have a third suffix, let's show you. If my item looks like this, has three prefixes, three suffixes, I cannot use the add remove. No spaces left, as you can see. So, um, by the way, this modifier right here with fire damage to attacks, you can put it from the bench. But let's just say that your item looks like this. In this case, you can use a crafted mod that you pay one divine for it. Can roll attack modifiers, and since you have one prefix, um, one empty prefix, and that fire damage to attacks, it's an attack mod, it cannot give it. So it's a guaranteed +1, like this. No matter what you do, it will give you the +1. Sometimes you're going to lose the +1 all. You're just going to get unlucky. After all, it's a 20% chance to remove the +1 all skills. But if you do this on a large scale, you are going to have 80% chance of success. So most of the time it will not remove this. From time to time, yes, but most of the time it will not remove the +1. So with that being said, let's show you how you search for these spaces, because um, so I have this filter right here. It's a bit complicated, and I'll show you how to navigate it. It has a few counts right here, but you uncheck them. The one that you don't uncheck, it's going to be this one right here. Your amulet mainly needs to have strength and dexterity and intelligence and dexterity, because most of the amulets that you're going to craft are going to be amulets that are crafted for righteous fire, and righteous fire uh, lacks dexterity. You uncheck this as well, and you uncheck this as well. So first of all, you start with an amulet that has um, two empty prefixes like this, and see what you find. Um, so ideally, you'd not go for one that um, is fractured, because this increases the chance of removing the +1 all skill gems. But for example, you can definitely buy this one right here. However, it is going to cost you a little bit of exalts. You can just craft a prefix and then slam a few exalts, because um, if you don't buy a good base, you're still going to have to use that one divine craft if you don't start with a good base. But this right here, it's going to cost you one divine and 60 chaos to make the amulet ready to be slammed with harvest. This base right here. After you uncheck this, so you check these bases, you buy what is affordable, you uncheck this, and then you go for one that looks like this. You check these two boxes right here, and now it will look for an amulet that has an empty prefix and also has an empty suffix. And if you buy an amulet that looks like this, as you can see, you pay 100 chaos for it, and then you pay one divine and craft from the bench. Cannot roll attack modifiers on the suffix. Another way to search for amulets would be to just simply uncheck this one right here with the suffix modifiers. You uncheck it, and here you modify, you make the count 2 like this. So now it will show you amulets that have three suffixes, has the +1, and has one crafted modifier and one empty prefix. So you pay one divine, you go to the bench craft, you craft fire damage to attacks, and you can then use harvest. So this would be another way to search for amulets. So if you pay around 1.5 divines for a base like this, it's fine, because that's pretty much the cost that you would pay for the amulet to make it viable. And another one would be with the count at the bottom. So here you would modify this count right here. You would put 1, and at the bottom you would put 1 right here. So it will give you amulets that already have this mod. So for example, this one right here, you pay 140 chaos and it's ready to be crafted. This one right here has lightning damage to attacks, so this means you're going to make a +2 lightning. You have to check if they sell. The best one is going to be fire damage to attacks, because this is the cheapest to craft, and also there are a lot of people buying the +2 fire. The +2 cold are also good, but there are not enough people to buy it, and they are also more expensive to craft because the yellow seeds are much more expensive. If you don't want to bother, don't want to risk it with plus uh, um, +2 cold or lightning, just stick with fire. So you would just modify this right here. You don't check this and you just stick with the one that has the fire. So you just buy these bases. It should cost you around 1 divine, 1.5 divines. And the last method would be you uncheck these boxes right here. So you only have the implicits, the has not influences, and the +1. Uh, you buy the cheapest bases and then you just annul them, and from then on you proceed. And uh, so for example, this one right here, you can just, it's a very high chance that you annul a prefix. You buy this amulet and then you craft cannot roll attacks, and you're ready to slam it with harvest. Or if you want to risk it even further, you can just use another annul or prefix to suffix. So this is how you search for these amulets. The crafting process, I told you, you just go to the harvest, um, like this. You either have to have cannot roll attacks modifier or an empty prefix and craft it, or natural fire damage to attacks. And then if you have an empty prefix and your suffixes are bad, you can risk it and pay 2 divines to use Welt Chaos Orb. So let's show you an example. This one right here has the +2. The suffixes are bad. In this case, personally, I would risk it. I'm not sure if it's worth doing it, but sometimes I just simply got lucky. I would use this right here. It gives me some modifiers. Sometimes it will add a prefix and can be bad. Sometimes it's good. At this point, let's show you what to craft. At this point, if it gives you a suffix, you go to the jewelry amulet. So here at the weighting, it's this one right here, to increase your chances of hitting any other good modifier, maybe strength and dexterity, chaos resistance, things like that, endurance, frenzy charges, anything like that. So you just craft this well packed, well focused. Uh, so go to the bench, well packed, well focused, and now when you unveil, it has a high chance of giving you something good. I'm not sure if increased effect of non-damaging elements is good for the righteous fire, so I would just stick with frenzy charges here, and then I would just craft some, I don't know, fire chaos resistance like this. And if you still have one empty suffix, just use an exalt like this, and you sell the amulet. Now let's go over how I crafted that quiver and how you can actually craft quivers. Um, Basically, if you want to go for a physical quiver, like I have here, so this quiver right here, it cost me 11 divines to craft, and here's how I did it. I just bought a base that had the fracture bow attacks fire an additional arrow, but if you don't want to go for um, for this quiver, let's do the math right here. So first of all, let's go one. Let's go to quiver. So the idea is when you go and use essences, um, physical damage to attacks, these essences are very expensive. It's about 10 chaos per one deafening essence, like this. But the other ones, like fire, cold, lightning, are much cheaper. The best one is going to be the physical quiver, but the other ones are cheaper to make. So maybe because this base right here, a quiver like this, goes for about 5 to 6 divs, and your chance of hitting. So let's just say that you have essences, and it's essence of contempt, and it's fractured. So let's just say that you have this critical strike multiplier with bow attacks. If this is fractured and you're trying to hit this right here, it takes 1 in 142. So it would take you 6.36 divines um, to hit this modifier. Bow attacks fire one additional arrow, and it's not even guaranteed that it has an empty suffix. Whereas if the fracture is on the bow fire and attack, now it takes you 38. So it would take uh, about almost 2 divines to get the crit multi. This is important because if you are using other essences that are much cheaper, that gives you lightning damage to attacks, fire damage to attacks, you can start with a base that has crit multiplier with bows, or has fractured crit multi global like this. And you make it a count, and you put 38. And here you can see that these are even cheaper, and you can also select a better base. Maybe you can select the base blunt arrow quiver or the broad arrowhead, because blunt arrow quiver gives you more fist to attacks. The implicit simply gives you more fist to attacks. And if you were to search for a blunt arrow quiver, with a fractured bow fire and additional arrow, you can see that you can pay about 10 divs for one quiver like this. So you take into account, do you want to pay 20 chaos and then try your luck with deafening essence of contempt that are about 10 chaos each, or do you pay 10 divines for one of these, or you just buy the bad base at 4 divs. And as you can see, my base was not the best, but it was not bad either. It was rated. Anyway, the idea is you either start with crit multi or you start with bow fire and additional arrow. If you don't go for fizz quiver, just start with crit multi. It's much cheaper. But if you go with um, bow fire and additional arrow fractured and you go for fizz, it's much better, even if you pay 5 divines for the base. So let's show you the crafting process. Let's restart here. So let's just assume that you start with fractured crit multi. I mean, it should be tier 1, but it doesn't matter, the process is the same. And let's just say that you spam deafening essence of anguish, because this gives you fire. You would spam this until you hit the plus bow fire and additional attacks, And at this point, you need to get rid of the suffix, and there's no chance except annul, or maybe you can go and use um, suffix to prefix because you still want to keep the mods of the essence. So at this point, you have a 50-50 chance to remove a bad modifier, but if you, I mean, if you remove this, then you'd have a 66% chance to remove a good modifier and only 33% chance to remove the bad one. So, but if you do suffix to prefix, you have 50-50 chance. Anyway, you have to end up with the bow looking like this. Now, if you have if the other prefix is going to be, I don't know, fizz damage to attacks or lightning damage to attacks, I think that's a keep. But the idea is for you to end up with a quiver that looks like this. And if you're starting with a fracture uh, on the bows, your quiver would look like this. It's the same process except you're starting with a different fracture. And at this point, you would go to the bench craft and you'd craft cannot roll attack mods. And let's just show you why. If you look at this right here, all the prefixes are attack mods except for the maximum life and increased damage with bow skills. And exalts and annulments um, follow this rule. They will not give you anything except maximum life and increased damage with bow skills. And when you're going to use an orb of annulment, it will not remove the fire damage to attacks because it has the attack tag. It will not remove neither the crit multi nor the fire an additional arrow because both are attack tags. And but it can remove this mod right here. It can remove the crafted cannot roll attack modifiers. In case it removes it, let's show you. In case it removes it like this, you have to craft it again. You pay 1 divine again. So you would use an exalt until you're happy with your prefixes. For example, let's just say you don't want this tier 2, tier 6. You want tier 1, tier 2. You just use an orb of annulment until your item looks like this, and you spam an exalted orb, and you repeat the process until you get uh, tier 1 life and tier 1 increased damage with both skills, or it depends because you're not going to find fractures item level 86, so you're probably going to stick with tier 2. The chance of you hitting this maximum life and increased damage with both skills is quite high. So if you take into account that the weighting of these mods, because only these mods can appear, so there's a 16,000 weighting, and the chance of you hitting the increased maximum life, it's going to be on the first try, it's going to be 1 in 16. So, so on your first attempt, on your first exalt is going to be 6.25%. And if it gives you, if your first exalt, it gives you increased damage with both skills, it's going to be 10% on your second exalted orb attempt. So you can see that this is quite easy. From time to time, it's only 33% chance of removing uh, it's a 33% chance of removing the cannot roll attack modifiers, and uh, if it removes the increased damage with bow attack skills, you can just use the exalt once again. um, at this point it's a 50% chance of removing the cannot roll attack modifier, so from time to time you're just going to remove this craft just by annulling, but you can craft it, and the profit margins on this craft are huge as you saw right there. So this quiver cost me um, 11 divines. um, most I guess it took me about 6 divines to get it with crit multi and uh, physical damage to attacks, and then I had to use some exalts and some annulments, and cannot roll attacks until I got the double T1. I mean the T1 life and T2 damage with both skills. Maybe if I waited a couple more days, I could have sold it for like 25, maybe 30 divines. I'm not sure. But this is the crafting process. These are the crafts that I used. Once again, it took me 70 minutes. Um, I spent 100 and I spent 76 divines, and I made about 54 divines total in profit, and roughly about 46, 47 divines um, in sales. The only item that did not sell,
When I'm
once
ready
again,
and not before.
is this amulet right here, which I think will for sure sell for at least 5 divines. At least 5 divines, it will sell for sure. If not, I don't know, maybe 4 divines, but guaranteed for sure 5 divines it will sell. So this is the video that I had. It's a bit of a long video, and maybe most of you did not watch it, but for those of you that stayed till the end of the video, this is how I made 50 divines in 1 hour. Maybe that title will be a bit clickbait, because it was more like 46, 47 divines, but anyway, you get the idea.